I'm Alyssa.
And I'm Mike,
Welcome.
adjusting my camera.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
A teleprompter is also being shared with me, apparently. I don't know why it comes up with that. Anyways, welcome back to
That's weird.
Thursday, True Crime Thursday, nonetheless. And yeah, ooh, so
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah, and this week we're doing a case that's an old case. It's about, I think it's like a 25-year-old case.
Two, yeah,
Um
2001, 2001. When I was
yeah,
like
that's
listening to stuff on it, and it kept saying like 2001, I kept wanting to say 2021 because I don't know, 2001 is kind of an ugly year. I don't know. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like they say
Yeah.
like pretty birthday dates and like not pretty birthday dates. Kind of hate
Oh, I
the
see. Yeah.
2001 year. It's like it's uncomfortable to say, right?
Yeah.
Just me.
I don't know. It might just be you. I don't know. But but yeah, so this case was big back then because it involved
Yeah.
someone from Washington and a politician and all that. It was like one of those really high profile stories at the time. And there's recently been some, I would say, somewhat strange happenings in the case because I think kind of centered around the attention that's been given to it because of the 25th anniversary. And we're talking about the murder of Chandra Levy,
Yeah. She was
which
she
happened. Yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, and one thing I learned during this, it's kind of like being older myself now. She was only 24 years old, which is like it's always crazy when like someone so young goes missing like that. Cause like I think of when I was
Yeah, yeah,
24, and it's like, oh yeah, she was young, and she was also a graduate student at USC, and then she moved to Washington D.C. for a very prestigious internship, obviously.
yeah, yeah, yeah. She was. Let's see. She was an intern with the U.S. Federal Bureau of Prisons in Washington,
Yeah,
which sounds like I mean,
very.
yeah. I don't picture she was guarding like criminals or anything. I feel like it was probably more of a an office job situation there.
Yeah,
Um,
anything federal bureau.
but
It sounds it. Yeah, I love a good title,
yeah,
a good job title.
I know, right? And I remember this case because I remember she was missing for like a while, and then they found her remains. But
Hmm.
um, I'm spoiling the plot, I guess. But she disappeared on May 1st of 2001.
Hmm.
Um, she was actually planning to return to California at the time. She was last known to be at her apartment in Washington, D.C. On May 1st. Investigators later found her phone, wallet, ID, and packed luggage that was still there because she was getting ready to go back to California, which is where she was from. Um, and her family reported her missing, I guess, after several days without contact. They hadn't heard from her. Um, Investigators confirmed that she had a romantic relationship with then Congressman Gary Condit. Um, Condit admitted to the relationship during the investigation, but he was never charged. And I think a lot of people at the time thought that he had something to do with it, just because, I believe he was. This I couldn't find anywhere. I should have done a little more research on it, but I don't remember if at the time he was married and it was one of those situations. But I know he was heavily suspect, at the time.
Well, especially because like it wasn't at least from what I was seeing on it, it wasn't like a public relationship. It was kind of everyone was pretty surprised when so obviously like when she went missing, they start looking into things, and that's when they found her. I think they found her phone, or they looked into I think it was that they looked into her phone records, and
Hmm.
they had saw that she was contacting this specific person pretty often, pretty regularly, a lot. They had a lot of phone calls and messages back and forth, and that's when they found out that it was Gary Condit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And like I said, I remember at the time a lot of attention being given towards him. Um,
But
they
this
did
does
find
word it
her.
as that they had an affair.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm
So
guessing he was married
yeah,
and in a relationship.
yeah, yeah. And then it said they found her skeletal remains on May 22nd. So basically
Mhm.
3 weeks after she had gone missing, they found her skeletal remains in Rock Creek Park.
Mhm.
The medical examiner ruled her death a homicide. Because of the condition of the remains, they couldn't definitively determine like the exact cause of death because I guess it was just skeletal remains. Um, but I guess there was damage to the neck bone that suggested that it could have been strangulation. Um, and I don't know, is this years later? Yeah, this is years later, like 8 years later. A man named Ingmar, yeah, Guandique, and I'm doing my best to pronounce that name, but Guandique, um, was they focused on him,
Mhm.
and he previously attacked women in the same location. I believe he was in jail um, at the time of his arrest in 2009, and he was convicted of Chandra Levy's murder in 2010 and received a 60-year sentence. What's interesting to me is they didn't have like a lot of evidence tying him to it, but what they did have was like witness testimony from somebody who was in prison with him, and so just kind of strange, that a jailhouse informant claimed that he had confessed to him that he did it, which I think, like, I always thought of that kind of thing as what would be considered hearsay, that
Mhm.
somebody says they heard, somebody told them something. Well, that's hearsay. Um, but
Unless there's,
it,
well, it's hearsay unless they like have evidence pointing, but like what I was reading was, I guess, like a key point around this was that Gary Condit was never actually charged with a crime initially
right.
because there was never any type of forensic evidence that linked him to what happened, which is really what happens to a lot of these cases. I mean, look at the David case. Um,
Right.
like it's not like it doesn't matter how guilty you think somebody is, just because they have to have that key piece of proving that they have that connection to what happened. It can't just be, unfortunately, well, he was the last person that saw her, so like that makes sense. And
Mm-hmm.
look at all these messages. Like it,
Mm-hmm.
there has to be something pointing him to what happened, which, a lot of times, even, you mentioned strangulation as the cause of death, but a lot of times with that makes it even more difficult because then there's no murder weapon.
Right. Right. And in a case like this, especially where you're finding the remains in a state that you're probably not going to find DNA from the perpetrator. You're probably not,
Hmm.
going to find fingerprints from the person that did it. So,
Hmm.
yeah, that's how they died, but unless they, dropped their ID while they were doing it, you're not going to find anything to tie them to it if it's been, I mean,
Right.
this was weeks in Washington in May, so it probably was getting a little warm and that kind of thing.
It's not always like a
Um,
clean case of, oh, well, he has this type of shoe and there's a footprint in the dirt leading up to right before her body, where her body was. And
right,
then look at, yeah,
right. Yeah, exactly.
there was a
Yeah,
camera in the
and
corner of the room.
yeah, which back then there weren't quite so many cameras around.
Definitely not.
In 2015, a judge overturned that conviction, though, after serious concerns emerged about withheld evidence and the credibility of that witness that was kind of the star witness. So that conviction was actually overturned. And then in 2016, prosecutors dismissed the case rather than retry it, saying they no longer had confidence in the testimony central to the conviction. So basically the prosecutors decided, yeah, that witness that we were relying on really was not reliable. So, and basically that person who was convicted, um, was released and deported to El Salvador 2 years later, or one
Hmm.
year later in 2017. So basically, this is like an unsolved case at this point because if they're saying, I mean, I don't think they ever said they don't think he did do it. They just said they can't prove he did it at this point, because they said no one's currently charged with her murder, and the case remains open. So it is still an open case. It's just an unsolved case.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think like in my opinion it's a little crazy that like we still haven't found answers in this case, especially with all the new DNA that like, you know, evidence that we have and all that stuff. I think
right,
it is kind of crazy that there's no real updates in the case. You know,
right,
her body, I will say like because her body wasn't found until I think it said 2002, right? So it was
right.
kind, you know,
2000, yeah,
yeah, 2002. Um,
2001,
no, her body was found in
2000.
2002.
No, her body was found 3 weeks after, and still in 2001, May 22nd, 2001, right? Or did it say
Her
2002?
body
Which
was
actually,
not found
you're right.
until
So,
May of
okay,
2022 or May of
yeah,
2002.
I read that all wrong. So it wasn't 3 weeks later; it was a year and 3 weeks later,
Yeah, it was
which
more than a
makes
year
more
after she
sense.
vanished.
Yeah, that makes more sense than that. That the remains were so. Because
That's
I
what
was
I'm
thinking, wow,
saying.
that 3 weeks. That's a short
Yeah.
time.
I mean, 3 weeks is
Um,
also, you know, your body really does decompose pretty quickly, but yeah, it was
yeah,
over a year
not that quickly.
after she vanished. And what's also really sad that I was reading was that like she it said that she was like when she disappeared, she was supposed to be like going for a graduation. Yeah.
That's why she
She
was
was
going
supposed
back to
to go to
California.
California days later for her graduation, but she never made it. So sad.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then it came out that there were problems too with the case, that um, the police search teams didn't search that area when they were still looking for her. Not that they would have found her alive at that point, but if they had found her like right when the initial search was going on, the
Hmm.
body would have been in better condition, that they might have been able to tie it to whoever did it. Um, and it was
Right.
just it says it was a miscommunication about search boundaries. So whether or not that
Mm,
means that they said, oh, we already searched that area, or, oh, we're only searching in this zone. I don't know exactly what that means, but um, kind of interesting to me that, that caused it. And then they said there were evidence handling problems during the investigation because
hmm.
they accidentally corrupted data from her computer. So I guess they
Yeah.
weren't able to retrieve data from her computer.
Yeah.
Not good.
Yeah, those were all very big problems really from the beginning of the case. And we've seen a few cases like this where they really
Yeah.
like just drop the ball with the investigation and I
Yeah.
understand mistakes happen. But I don't know, I feel like in my job, for example, if I'm dealing with like money and I'm really like sifting through things, like there's just certain situations where you kind of like can't make a mistake. Like your strong point has to be literally just that you are very thorough. And I think an investigation where someone is missing or someone's remains are found, that's just something that there's kind of not too many excuses for, dropping the ball in that stuff. Like yeah, they said that
Yeah.
there were delays in the investigation, lost or erased digital evidence. Like I don't even know the explanation for some of the evidence just
Yeah.
disappearing. Like
Yeah.
that's
And
fishy
so,
already.
yeah, if you want to go like full, like right into the conspiracy theory stuff, being that the congressman was somebody with, political ties, you do wonder, is it a case where the things that happened wrong, purposely? Like,
Mm-hmm.
was there intentional? I watch TV shows like 24 too much, so that's how my brain works now,
Yeah.
you know. Um, but this is where the story gets a little crazy, because In recent developments,
Mhm.
in 2025, a DC appeals court sanctioned the former prosecutor connected to the case over ethics violations involving evidential disclosures, which it's kind of funny because that's like several years after his case, that's almost 10 years after his case was overturned
Yeah.
that they actually did that. Um, and the one that's kind of really interesting is now too that Chandra Levy's family has come out with some theories about um, her possible knowledge of things related to UFO information that the government has,
Mhm.
and that may have been part of the reason that something happened to her. Um, they don't have a whole lot of evidence to support those claims, but I guess the speculation is that because of her relationship with Gary Condit, that he may have had access to that information, and
Yeah.
while she was with him at an apartment or something to that effect, that she may have found out that information, and
Mhm.
it became known that she had, knew about these things that she shouldn't have known, and that someone then, went after her because of that. I mean, that's
Which makes sense.
that's an interesting theory. Yeah, I mean, I guess this part was interesting to me because today again there was a bunch of stuff that came out
Mhm.
about UFOs and the information that the government has on UFOs, and there's supposedly some stuff that's going to be released um, soon, I guess is the way they've been saying about the information that we have on UFOs. So, you know, kind of that, and then talking about this case at the same time,
Mhm.
it is kind of interesting because it seems that there is information out there um, that isn't public knowledge. Uh, and so could that be what happened? I don't know. I mean, being that this is a case that's still an open case that hasn't, you know, technically been solved, it does make you wonder.
Yeah, and that has to be so hard to like be her family in this. I mean, I don't want to say they're grasping at straws at all by any means by even saying like the UFO thing because that totally could be true. I mean, look at all the scientists that like have literally gone missing or been found
Right.
dead, and they've been working on like actual real products like uh, projects. Adrian was telling me about one that there was this guy or this group or whatever. I think it was a guy who figured out that like you can how to run a car off of water or whatever, and then he was just found dead.
Wow.
Like, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like is that why? Who knows? But could it be possible? Like also to an extent, like sometimes coincidences aren't always coincidences.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so I mean, yeah, especially considering I don't know how much when it comes to the whole affair situation, I don't know how much evidence they even would have on him to even make it like what's the evidence called when
Circumstantial.
yeah, I don't even know if they have like like sometimes when when it involves a partner like that, there's usually a lot more evidence behind it, like he's been violent in the past, or they've
Right.
fought and it's been known that they fought, or you know domestic calls have like been had before, or um
Right.
yeah, I don't know, like there's just a little bit more backing it up,
Right.
but
Right. And that's where the stuff about the computer data being corrupted is interesting because were there emails on the computer
right,
that which you can get those other ways too,
or
but
he
you know if
logged
you
into his stuff on there, or
right right right
yeah,
because the and I did actually find some more information on the parents theory, um and they say that I guess Chandra had mentioned to them that Condit was involved in the congressional intelligence matters related to UFOs. So she probably mentioned that in passing, just kind of like anybody thinking, oh, that's kind of cool, you know?
right,
Um, but then they're speculating that because like maybe she became too curious in that and started looking into things that she shouldn't have. Um, yeah, I mean, and Susan Levy, I don't know if that's her mother, also suggested there could have been intelligence agency involvement, though she provided no evidence. So it sounds like that whole thing is, a lot of speculation on their part, and I think all the recent stuff that's gone on related to UFOs maybe also, kind of plays into that, that wait, there is all this secret information that the government has on UFOs that they're not
Yeah.
telling anyone. So it does make you wonder. It does make you wonder.
Yeah. That has to be really hard.
I mean,
Out of this many
I mean,
years, and you don't really know, like, no one being held accountable for your family member's death, like, that has to be so hard, especially, and
yeah,
it's a case where, like, they already had to go through, like, even just waiting over a year just to find her remains in the first place, and then they
right,
find them, and it's not just that they can't find who did that to her, but then you find out that, oh, well, maybe if this investigation was handled a little bit better, maybe they could have found who did it. But,
right,
then time
right,
passes, and, you know, it's like that one
right,
case of the teacher that we did where, because they kind of dropped the ball on the investigation process,
right,
like any
right,
little thing could have caught the guy. They could have found a
right.
hair strand, like,
Well, and then the emotional roller coaster, right? Of they find a guy, it's what like we said, it was like 8 years later that they found a guy, and this guy, we think he did it. He, confessed to somebody that he's in jail with, and
well, that's
and that
because, like, he
and
also, that same guy that they found, though, he also was responsible for, like, attacking women and leaving them, like,
right,
it was in that same area. So,
right,
to the
right,
average person, it
right. So
also
he
made
fit.
sense.
Yeah, he fit the mold. And
Mhm.
who knows, that the witness might have been flawed, but the fact that he was he had that background, and that, and then somebody says that he confessed to them. Maybe he did actually confess to them, and they were just a bad witness, and because of that, he got ended up getting the
Yeah.
conviction overturned. But that
Yeah.
emotional roller coaster for the family, like, okay, they got him, they found the guy, oh, they convicted him, he's going to jail for 60 years, and
Mhm.
then the bottom drops out, and the whole thing gets turned over, and then he gets out of jail and gets deported, and now he's, I would assume, just living out the rest of his life,
Yeah, and they said
somewhere else.
it said anyways that they weren't gonna, like,
Right,
re-prosecute
right,
him anyway. Like, they just,
right. Because
which
they didn't
makes
they didn't
sense.
feel they had the evidence.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, once you let someone like
And
that go, unless you really get, like, literal video footage at that point, I mean, there is no
yeah,
point in even wasting your time re-prosecuting somebody like that.
right. But I wonder if it's like when he got prosecuted, they felt closure. Somebody's paying for this. Then he gets let go, and then you just lost that closure. And now here you are, 10 years after that event, or 9 years after that event, and these other things start coming up,
Yeah.
and you know, I was reading something that said, like, that was talking about in the context of the UFO scientists that have all been,
Yeah.
and it talked about some experts saying, sometimes deaths that are unrelated are just grouped together, for like stories because of a common thread. So could this be, that kind of common thread? I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I would assume, you know, if they do come out with this stuff that they're talking about coming out with soon, again, they never say like next Thursday we're going to release this information. It's always like we're going to be releasing it very soon.
I always like
Um,
to leave people up in the air like that as well when I don't have a specific plan.
yeah,
Yeah, let's
yeah, I
hang
guess
out
that's true.
next week.
Yeah, when somebody asks when you're going to get that done, it's like I'm planning on getting it done,
Shortly.
but as soon as possible. Really, it's going to be
Oh yeah,
done.
I like an as soon as possible as well. Yeah,
Yeah,
because that
because it's
shows.
easy to say. it just wasn't possible that soon.
But you know what I've
Um,
noticed too? Like, I don't know if you have, especially like in like the job field, like in emails, if somebody puts like ASAP versus as soon as possible, like obviously they mean the same thing, but I don't know why for some reason like ASAP just is so much more aggressive. Like if somebody says
it,
to me
yeah,
like, "Hey, can you have this
yeah,
done ASAP?" Like
yeah,
I'm gonna need you to relax, okay? Like I'm one
yeah,
person, I'm one girl.
yeah,
Versus
yeah.
like, "Hey, can you have this
ASAP,
done as soon as possible?" Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. ASAP sounds urgent. It sounds extremely urgent.
ASAP
As soon as possible sounds like, yeah, I'm gonna get that done as quickly as I can.
by end of day.
You
I'll have
know,
it done by end of day.
ASAP sounds like whatever you're working on now,
Like
drop
drop
it and
it.
go do
Like the
this other
house
thing.
is on
Yeah, that.
fire, take care of it.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
hate
yeah.
an
Why is
ASAP.
that?
I really don't like an ASAP. I don't even like saying ASAP. Like first of all, it's usually always
Yeah,
in uppercase letters anyways. So like that's
right.
already like
Which
my warning signs are going off.
that's true.
Or
Yeah, because when I type as soon as possible, it's gonna all be in lowercase. It's
right.
just naturally, and
Right.
ASAP is always in uppercase.
ASAP is
Yeah,
always in
that's
uppercase.
a
Like, just
good
add a
point.
million exclamation points at the end of it to just really finalize it.
Yeah, yeah. So, but
uh,
back to this.
sorry, guys.
I will be interested. Yeah, we went off on a tangent, but
I
that's kind
needed
of our
it.
thing.
Yeah, I needed it.
Yeah. Um, but you know, as far as this goes, when they do release that information, you know, I wonder. I mean, I'm gonna go with the assumption that they're going to release information that has no like tactical, you know, doesn't kind of produce any danger to any, you know, any government agencies or anything like that.
Yeah.
You know, nothing that's going to put any of that in danger. Nothing that's going to put, you know, like just tactical things in any bad position.
Yeah.
Um, but I wonder if there would be anything that would come out that people could point to and say, oh, well, that information was related to, you know, talking about the scientists now, that
Yeah.
information was related to these three scientists and, you know, and that
Yeah.
kind of thing. Or if it's going to be generic enough that it wouldn't really, you know, lead you to anything like, yes, we do have evidence that, you know, we've had extraterrestrial, you know, visitors to the planet, and here's how we know, and that kind
Right.
of thing. But it won't go into any specifics of, you know, because there was also something. I know we've actually gone into a tangent of talking about UFOs, but that's actually the reason we're talking about this story again, right? Is because of the UFO aspect. Um, there was something I saw today, something related to like 17 small earthquakes in the area of Area 51.
Hmm.
I don't know what I don't know what the speculation is there. I don't know what the suggestion is there, but 17 small earthquakes in that area. It's that the
How
spaceship that's hidden underground there is getting ready to launch back into space. That's
17
actually what
small
it is.
earthquakes, but like within what amount of time?
Uh, let's find out.
Like, are we talking like 17 small earthquakes like within the same year, or just does it mean like just over time while we've been reporting earthquakes?
It, well, it sounded to me like it was very recently, like maybe the last couple of weeks.
Oh.
Um, so let's see. Between April and early May. Okay, so April and early May, at least 17 earthquakes were recorded near the Nevada Test and Training Range, which includes the area commonly associated with Area 51 and the Tonopah Test Range. Quakes ranged from roughly magnitude 2.5 to 4.4.
Yeah, it's
Several
the
were
aliens using
unusually
their magic.
shallow. Yeah, they're magic.
Isn't that what
Didn't
they
know they
have?
had magic. Yeah. See, the thing that they're saying is that's a highly classified military facility.
Mm-hmm.
So are they testing things there?
Mm-hmm.
Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
I think, oh, secret underground nuclear testing. Well, that could be. That could have nothing to do with spaceships at all. But I like to think it has something to do with spaceships. And, you know, we did just pass May the
It's
4th, so it
it's
could be.
trying to get
It's
their
the
spaceship off the ground.
Yeah, it's the Millennium Falcon. It's
Yeah.
buried underground, and they're trying to get it back out, and it's causing earthquakes. No. So that I think in the context of all those things, like all these UFO stories that are going on right now, and
Mhm.
then the fact that a 25-year-old murder case of a college intern is now being tied even loosely to UFO related things is just kind of interesting. There's I have two theories on it. Either all this information is actually going to come out and it's going to be mind blowing, what there is,
Yeah.
or this is all being kind of stirred up to kind of distract from other things, because that is something that government is famous for, and it's everybody, right? It's
Right.
all of the politicians do it. So I'm not tying this to a party or a person. This is all of them do it. That when something's going on, they kind of want people to be looking at something else. They come up with some shiny object, and UFOs are very shiny. I mean, I've never seen one, but I assume that they would be very shiny.
Yeah.
So yeah, so sad case again, because it involves a young lady being murdered in
Yeah.
what I would call just the beginning of her adult life.
Yeah.
Um, so very sad from that aspect, very sad for the family, because they still don't have closure on this, because it's still an open case.
Yeah.
And barring something just incredible happening,
Hmm.
I don't see how they ever solve it.
Yeah. Exactly. Again, 'cause just given the missing evidence overall, I don't even know. Like,
Right.
it's kind of that is where you just are stuck in a kind of the same place that you're in now.
Yeah. Yep. So that's this one.
That's
Anything
this
else to
one.
add? I don't. Yeah.
No. No, nothing else to
Yeah.
add.
We'll have our a more fun case or a more fun story, a more fun discussion on Monday for Marvel Monday, but also on Tuesday we're going to have great discussion about saving money, which everybody loves to do.
And groceries,
So
which
check
everybody
that
loves
out.
to
And
buy.
yeah,
Well,
exactly.
maybe.
Yeah. Depends on what it is. If it's like soap,
Will definitely help you
but it,
save money. Okay, gas is 4.50 a
yeah,
gallon, I heard. So,
yeah,
we
yeah. By the
got
time this
y'all.
airs, it might be higher. We don't know. It keeps going up. We'll see.
If you
All right.
text
Thanks.
711 if you text all in, all one word, ALLIN to 711 you can save 50 cents per gallon at 7-Eleven. You're welcome.
Wow. All right. Only the people who stayed till the end get that tip.
Yeah, exactly.
Remember that.
All right.
All right, guys. Thanks for checking us out. Hey, make sure you like and subscribe, because we really do like watching that subscriber count go up.
Yeah, we do. Okay.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.